They destroyed me in front of 50 strangers over a goddamn spoon I didn't take. My own daughter watched. She said nothing. But here's what they didn't know. I wasn't who they thought I was. Neither was the fortune they were hunting. And the man who saved me that night, he'd been searching for me for 40 years. This is the story of how I went from being called a thief in my daughter's mansion to discovering I'd been living someone else's life, and how I made every single one of them pay for it. Stay until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The invitation came on our ivory cardstock. Heavy, expensive, the kind of paper that whispers money before you even read what's printed on it. You are cordially invited to an intimate dinner gathering at the Hale residence. Lila's handwriting. My daughter's careful script in navy ink. The letters perfectly slanted like she'd learned in that private school I could barely afford. The one where she met Victor. I should have known better. I should have thrown that invitation straight into the garbage and saved myself the humiliation that was coming. But you don't think like that when it's your only child. When you spend 3 years getting one-word text messages and cancelled lunches, you don't say no to an actual invitation. You say yes. You hope. God, I hoped. I spent 2 weeks' budget on a dress from Marshall's. Navy blue, conservative, with a modest neckline, because I knew Lila's crowd. I'd met them exactly twice. Once at her wedding, once at some charity thing, where I stood in a corner, nursing cheap wine while everyone else sipped champagne. They looked through me like I was furniture. Victor's mother actually asked me if I was part of the catering staff. But this felt different. The invitation said intimate. It said gathering. It said maybe that Lila finally wanted me back in her life. I took the bus to their neighborhood because parking a 2003 Honda Civic in front of a mansion feels like showing up to a wedding in pajamas. The bus dropped me 4 blocks away. I walked in my good shoes, the ones that pinched but looked decent, past houses that could have fit my entire apartment building inside them 3 times over. The Hale mansion sat behind iron gates, actual gates, with a call box and a camera and a security guard who looked at me like I might be selling something. Evelyn Carter, I said into the speaker, I'm on the guest list. Silence, then a buzz. The gate swung open like something from a movie. The driveway curved through landscaping that probably cost more than I made in a year. Japanese maples, stone fountains, lights hidden in the bushes casting everything in the soft golden glow. I had been here once before for Lila's wedding reception, but it still knocked the breath out of me. The house itself looked like someone had combined an English manor with a modern glass palace. 3 stories. Columns, windows taller than my living room. Through them I could see chandeliers and people in evening wear holding crystal glasses. My stomach twisted. The invitation said intimate. This looked like 20, maybe 30 people. I almost turned around. Almost walked back down that perfect driveway and caught the bus home. But the door opened and there was Lila, my daughter, 28 now, wearing a cream dress that probably cost what I made in 6 months. Her dark hair pulled back in a way that showed off diamond earrings. Gifts from Victor, no doubt. She looked like she belonged in a magazine. She looked nothing like the girl who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. Mom. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You came. Of course I came. I climbed the steps, resisting the urge to hug her because I couldn't read whether that would be welcome. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, well, she glanced behind her into the house. Victor thought it would be nice. A family dinner, Victor thought. Not I wanted to see you, not I missed you. I swallowed the disappointment and smiled. It's a beautiful home, even more beautiful than I remembered. Come in, let me introduce you to everyone. Everyone turned out to be Victor's business associates and their wives. A state senator, someone from old oil money, a tech CEO whose company had just gone public. I recognized a few faces from the society pages of the newspaper I couldn't afford to subscribe to. Not intimate, not family, a performance. Lila walked me through the crowd like a tour guide showing off a moderately interesting exhibit. "This is my mother, Evelyn. Mom, this is James Westwood. He runs the Westwood Foundation. And this is Senator Brennan. And this is..." Names and handshakes and smiles that measured my discount dress and worn shoes and found me lacking. I saw it in their eyes, that quick flick up and down, the slight tightening around their mouths. I wasn't one of them. I didn't belong. "How lovely," one woman said. She had the kind of face that came from excellent genetics and better plastic surgery. "And what do you do, Evelyn?" "I'm retired," I said, which was a polite way of saying I'd been forced out of my data entry job when the company downsized and now lived on Social Security that barely covered rent. How wonderful, so much free time. She turned to the woman next to her before I could respond. I found a corner near a window and accepted a glass of white wine from a server who moved through the room like a ghost. The wine tasted expensive, crisp and cold, and completely wasted on me because my throat was too tight to enjoy it. Victor appeared at Lila's side. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with silver-threaded hair and a smile that belonged in toothpaste commercials. Handsome in that manufactured way, personal trainer, expensive haircut, clothes tailored to hide the softness that came with too many business lunches. He'd never liked me. I knew it from the first time Lila brought him home. The way his eyes skipped over our apartment's worn furniture and peeling wallpaper. The way he suggested, gently, that maybe Lila should move in with him before the wedding, get used to a different lifestyle. She'd moved out 2 months later. I hardly saw her after that. "Everyone," Victor's voice cut through the conversation. He had one of those voices, trained, projected, used to being heard. "If you'll make your way to the dining room, dinner is served." The dining room belonged in Versailles. A table that could seat 20 ran down the center, set with china and crystal and more forks than any human being needed for one meal. Candles flickered in silver candelabras. The chandelier overhead looked like it weighed more than my car. I found my place card near the middle, not at the head table where Lila and Victor sat, but not quite at the end with the lesser guests. A careful placement, close enough to be present, far enough to know my position. The man next to me introduced himself as Richard something, a venture capitalist. His wife, across the table, wore emeralds. We made small talk about the weather while servers brought out the first course. Everything was perfect. The food, the wine, the conversation flowing around me about stock portfolios and vacation homes and people I'd never meet. I ate carefully, watched which fork everyone else used, tried not to draw attention to myself. Lila laughed at something Victor said. It was her public laugh, the one she developed after the wedding, not the real one, the one that used to make her snort when she was little. This one was controlled, elegant, fake. I wanted to cry. Halfway through the main course, some kind of fish in a sauce I couldn't pronounce, Victor stood up. He tapped his knife against his crystal glass and the room fell silent. "I want to thank you all for coming tonight," he said. His smile was perfect. His eyes scanned the table, landing on each guest like he was counting votes. "Leela and I are so grateful to be surrounded by such wonderful friends and family. Family. Singular, like I was an afterthought. We have something to celebrate," he continued. "As many of you know, the Westwood merger has been finalized. This represents not just a business achievement, but a testament to the values we hold dear: integrity, trust, and the importance of protecting what we've built." Polite applause. I clapped because everyone else did, which makes what I'm about to say particularly difficult. Victor's expression shifted. The smile faded into something serious. Concerned. He looked directly at me. But necessary. My heart started pounding. Earlier this evening, one of my family's heirloom silver spoons went missing from the dessert service. A small thing, perhaps, but it belonged to my grandmother. It has significant sentimental value. Murmurs around the table, confused glances. "I hate to make an accusation," Victor said, his voice heavy with false reluctance, "but I've checked with the staff and they've accounted for everything. The only explanation is that one of our guests must have taken it. The room went cold, silent, everyone looking at everyone else. I'm sorry to do this publicly, but I think we all deserve to know the truth. He pulled something from his pocket, a silver spoon, ornate, with a family crest on the handle. This was found in a purse that belongs to Evelyn Carter. He pointed at me. Every eye in that room turned. 20-some wealthy strangers staring at the poor woman in the discount dress who apparently couldn't resist stealing silver. That's not... My voice came out as a whisper. I cleared my throat, tried again. I didn't take anything. I wish that were true. Victor's voice dripped sympathy. False, poisonous sympathy. But the evidence is clear. The spoon was in your purse. Your purse was found in the powder room with the spoon inside. I looked at Lila, my daughter, my baby girl. Lila, I swear I didn't take anything. She looked at her plate, her perfect untouched plate. She said nothing. Mom, Victor used the word like a weapon. I know things have been difficult for you financially. I understand the temptation. But theft, especially in front of our guests in our home. I'm not a thief. I stood up. My chair scraped against hardwood. My hands were shaking so badly I had to grip the edge of the table. I didn't take that spoon. I've never stolen anything in my life. Then how did it get in your purse? Victor asked. Reasonable, calm, like he was humoring a child having a tantrum. I don't know. Someone must have put it there. Why would anyone do that? I didn't have an answer. It sounded crazy even to my own ears. Who would frame me for stealing a spoon? The woman with emeralds whispered to her husband. Senator Brennan looked uncomfortable. The society wives exchanged glances that said I knew she didn't belong here. Lila, I turned to my daughter, pleading, Tell them I wouldn't do this. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady, cold. I think you should leave, Mom. The words hit like a physical blow, like she'd reached across the table and slapped me. What? Just please go before this gets worse. Before it gets worse? I could barely breathe. You think I stole from you? You think I think you're causing a scene. Her voice dropped to a hiss. I think you're embarrassing yourself and everyone here, and I need you to leave. Now. The room was so quiet I could hear someone's watch ticking, could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I'm your mother. I know who you are. She stood up, smoothed her dress, composed, distant. Victor will arrange for a car to take you home. I don't want his car. I want... What you want doesn't matter right now. Victor moved around the table toward me, not threatening, but corralling, like I was an animal that needed to be guided out before I caused more damage. Let's discuss this privately, away from our guests. There's nothing to discuss. I grabbed my purse, my cheap, worn purse that apparently contained stolen goods I never touched. I'll leave, but I didn't steal anything, and you know it. Do I? Victor's mask slipped just for a second, just long enough for me to see the satisfaction underneath. Because from where I'm standing, the evidence is pretty clear. He'd planned this. The realization hit me like ice water. This whole dinner, the invitation, getting me here, it was all orchestrated, but why? What did I possibly have that Victor Hale could want? I looked around that table one more time, at the wealthy strangers who'd convicted me without trial, at my daughter who couldn't meet my eyes, at the man who'd married her and was destroying me for reasons I couldn't understand. I hope you're happy, I said, to Victor, to Lila, to all of them. I hope this is exactly what you wanted. I walked out through the dining room, through the entrance hall with its marble floors and priceless art. My shoes clicked too loud in the silence. The server who'd given me wine earlier held the door open, his expression carefully neutral. The night air hit me like a wall, cold, sharp. I made it down 3 steps before my knees buckled. I sat down right there on Victor Hale's perfect stone steps and let myself break. Not crying, not yet, just shaking, trembling like I had a fever because my whole world had just collapsed, and I couldn't understand why. My daughter thought I was a thief. My daughter had chosen her husband over me. My daughter had, "Excuse me, Mrs. Carter." I looked up. A man stood at the bottom of the steps, tall, maybe 60, with dark skin and silver hair, and a face that somehow managed to be both kind and severe. He wore a perfectly tailored suit. His shoes probably cost more than my rent. "I don't want a ride," I said. My voice sounded hollow. "Tell Victor I'll take the bus." "I'm not from Victor." He climbed 2 steps, stopped at a respectful distance. "My name is Karim Al-Zahid, and I think you and I need to talk." "About what?" "About how I just got accused of theft in front of half of Pacific Heights society. About how my daughter basically disowned me over a spoon I never touched. About why Victor Hale wanted you disgraced." Karim's eyes were steady. "And about who you really are." I laughed. It came out bitter. "I'm nobody. I'm a 61-year-old woman who lives in a studio apartment and just lost the only family I had left. That's who I am." "No." He moved closer. "That's who you've been for 40 years, but it's not who you are." "What are you talking about? Your real name isn't Evelyn Carter. You're not a retired data entry clerk from a working class family. And that dinner party in there, that wasn't about a silver spoon." He held out his hand. "Please, come with me. Let me show you something." I should have said no, should have told him to leave me alone and let me fall apart in peace, but something in his voice, in his eyes, made me pause. "Show me what?" "The truth." He kept his hand extended. "About the life you lived before an explosion took your memory, about the child you saved in a war zone, about the fortune that's been waiting for you, the fortune Victor Hale just found out about and is trying to steal." I stared at him. "You're insane." "Am I?" He pulled something from his pocket, a photograph, old, faded, the colors muted with age. He held it out. I took it with shaking hands. The photo showed a young woman in nurse's scrubs, maybe 25, holding a small boy. Behind them, rubble, smoke, the remains of what might have been a hospital. The woman's face was smudged with dirt, her eyes exhausted but fierce. The woman looked like me, 40 years younger, but it was my face, my eyes. "Where did you get this?" "From the day you saved my son's life." Karim's voice softened. "Beirut, 1983. You pulled him out of a building that was still burning. You stayed with him for 6 hours, keeping him alive until help arrived, and then you went back in for others." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. There was an explosion, a secondary collapse. You were caught in it. When they pulled you out, you had severe head trauma, amnesia. You couldn't remember your name, your past, anything before waking up in that hospital bed. "No." I shook my head. "No, I remember my childhood. I remember my parents growing up in Sacramento, working as a false memories." He said it gently. "Built from suggestions during your recovery. The mind fills in blanks when it can't remember. Doctors thought they were helping you heal, giving you a framework to rebuild from. They had no idea who you really were." "This is crazy. This is..." "Your name is Amelia Zara." Karim pulled out more photographs, documents. "You were a trauma surgeon, one of the best. You went to conflict zones all over the world, and you were wealthy, generational wealth from your family's pharmaceutical company. When you disappeared, your assets were placed in a trust, managed by people who've been searching for you for 4 decades. I looked at the documents. At a birth certificate with the name Amelia Zara. At medical licenses. At bank statements with numbers that made my vision blur. This can't be real. It is, and Victor knows. Karim's expression hardened. 3 months ago, his private investigator found the connection. Found proof that Evelyn Carter and Amelia Zara are the same person. He's been planning ever since. Planning what? To have you declared mentally incompetent. To claim that your theft tonight is evidence of cognitive decline. To position himself and Lila as your legal guardians, so he can control the trust. Karim's voice turned cold. He married your daughter to get close to you. Everything, the distance, the coldness, the years of neglect, it was all building to this moment, making sure you had no support, no witnesses who could vouch for your mental state, making you look unstable. I couldn't process it. It was too big, too impossible, but it explained everything. The sudden invitation, the public accusation, Lila's coldness, the whole performance. Why are you telling me this? Because you saved my son's life. Because the trust I've been managing for 40 years belongs to you. And because, he paused, because Victor Hale doesn't get to do this. Not to you, not to anyone. I looked back at the mansion. Through the windows I could see them resuming dinner, laughing, moving on like I'd never been there. My daughter was in there. My daughter who'd believed I was a thief. My daughter who'd married a monster. I want to make them pay, I heard myself say. I want them to know what they did to me. Then let me help you. Kareem extended his hand again. Let me show you who you really are, and then we'll show them what happens when you come for someone who's survived worse than their pathetic little schemes. I looked at his hand, at the photograph scattered on the steps, at the mansion where I'd just been destroyed. I took his hand. Show me everything. Kareem's car was a Mercedes, black, sleek, expensive in a way that didn't scream wealth but whispered it. The driver opened the door without a word. I slid into leather seats that probably cost more than everything I owned. We drove in silence. I couldn't stop staring at the photograph, at the woman who looked like me but seemed like a stranger, a surgeon, wealthy, brave enough to run into burning buildings. I'd spent 40 years thinking I was nobody, ordinary, forgettable. What if I'd been wrong? Where are we going? I finally asked. My office. I have documents there, evidence, everything you need to understand what was stolen from you. Kareem glanced at me. I know this is overwhelming. Take your time. Ask questions. How did you find me? I never stopped looking. After you disappeared, after the explosion, there was confusion. Multiple hospitals, refugees scattered across countries. By the time I tracked down what happened to you, you'd already been transferred to a facility in the States, recovering from your injuries. You'd been given a new identity, Evelyn Carter, based on fragments of memories and well-meaning doctors' assumptions. And you just let me live that life for 40 years? I didn't know where you were until 18 months ago. His voice held regret. The trail went cold. You'd been processed through the system under a different name with no records connecting you to Amelia Zara. It wasn't until facial recognition technology improved that we got a hit. A random photo, you in the background of someone else's Facebook picture at a grocery store. The algorithm flagged it. I had my team verify. A grocery store. I'd have been found because of a goddamn selfie someone took near the produce section. Why didn't you approach me then? I was going to. I hired investigators to confirm your identity first, to make sure we had absolute proof before upending your entire life. During that investigation, we discovered Victor Hale had hired his own investigators, that he'd found the same connection we had, that he was planning something. So you watched, you let him set this up. I needed to know his full plan before I could counter it. If I'd approached you too early, he might have accelerated his timeline or changed tactics. I needed him to show his hand completely. You used me as bait. Kareem's jaw tightened. Yes, and I apologize for that, but understand, if I'd revealed the truth too soon, Victor could have argued that you were being manipulated by someone claiming to be from your past. He could have used it as evidence of your instability. I needed him to commit to his scheme first, to create evidence of his own fraud. The car pulled up to a building downtown, glass and steel, modern, with a lobby that glowed like a jewel box. The driver opened my door. Kareem led me inside, past a security desk where the guard nodded respectfully, into an elevator that required a key card. You manage my trust, I said as we rose. What does that mean exactly? Your family's wealth was substantial. Pharmaceutical patents, property holdings, investments. When you disappeared, the board appointed me as executor. I've spent 4 decades growing that fortune, waiting for the day you'd return to claim it. How much? Current valuation. He said a number. I had to grab the elevator rail to stay upright. That's not possible. It's conservative, actually. Your family's patents on 3 essential medications have generated consistent revenue. I've diversified, invested carefully. The trust exists solely for you and for whoever you designate as your heir. Lila. He meant Lila. The elevator opened into an office suite that looked like something from a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, art on the walls, real art, the kind museums kept behind glass, a desk that probably weighed more than I did. Karim gestured to a conference room. Please, sit. I sank into a leather chair that cost more than my monthly rent. He opened a cabinet, pulled out files. Thick files, decades of documentation. This is you, he said, spreading them across the table. Birth certificate, medical degrees from Johns Hopkins, records of your service in Lebanon, Somalia, Bosnia, letters from people you saved, awards, photographs. I picked up a medical license, Dr. Amelia Zara. The photo showed a young woman with dark hair and determined eyes. She looked confident, capable, nothing like the woman I saw in the mirror every morning. How do I know this is real? How do I know you're not conning you? Karim pulled out his phone, made a call. Bring him in. A moment later, the door opened. A man entered, maybe 40, with Karim's eyes and his mother's smile. He walked with a slight limp. This is my son, Karim said. Tarek, the boy you pulled from that building. Tarek looked at me, his eyes filled with tears. You don't remember me, he said softly, but I remember you. I was 6 years old. The building was collapsing. My mother was already dead. You came through smoke and fire, and you pulled me out. You kept telling me stories, keeping me awake. You sang to me. Something flickered in my mind, a fragment, a memory like smoke. Stay with me, baby. Stay awake. Let me tell you about the ocean. I don't. My voice broke. I can't. It's okay. Tarek moved closer. I didn't come here to make you remember. I came to say thank you for giving me a laugh, for giving my father his son back. He hugged me, the stranger who wasn't a stranger, and something inside me cracked open. I cried, not the silent, swallowed tears from Victor's steps. Real crying, decades of grief I didn't know I was carrying, pouring out in that expensive office with these 2 men who'd spent 40 years searching for me. When I finally stopped, Karim handed me a tissue. Italian linen, of course. I need you to understand something, he said gently. Reclaiming this identity won't be easy. There will be legal challenges, medical evaluations. Victor will fight. He's already laid groundwork to claim you're mentally compromised. Let him try. He has advantages. You've lived as Evelyn Carter for 4 decades. You have no memories of being Amelia Zara. A good lawyer could argue. I don't care what they argue. I looked at him, at Tarek, at the evidence of a life I'd lost. He tried to destroy me tonight. He turned my daughter against me. He humiliated me in front of strangers to steal money I didn't know I had. I want him ruined. Karim smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Then let's ruin him. Mersem. We worked through the night. Karim showed me everything, bank statements, property deeds, investment portfolios. The sheer scope of the wealth was incomprehensible. I'd been living on $1,200 a month in Social Security while sitting on a fortune that could have bought small countries. But more than the money, he showed me who I'd been. Medical journals with my name on them. Peer-reviewed research on trauma surgery techniques. Letters from colleagues describing my work in conflict zones. Photographs of me in scrubs covered in blood and dirt, saving lives in places most people fled from. I'd been someone brave and brilliant and important. Then a bomb had taken it all away and left me with nothing but false memories and 40 years of struggling. The explosion caused severe traumatic brain injury, Karim explained, pointing to medical records. You were in a coma for 3 weeks. When you woke, you had complete retrograde amnesia, no memory of your identity or past. The doctors tried to help you rebuild, but without any identification, any family to claim you, they worked with what you gave them. Fragments, half memories that weren't real. Your mind created Evelyn Carter to fill the void where Amelia Zara used to be. Can I get it back? The memories? Possibly. Memory recovery after trauma is unpredictable. Sometimes a trigger, a smell, a sound, a place can unlock everything. Sometimes it never comes back. He paused. But you don't need your memories to reclaim your life. Victor will say I'm being manipulated, that you're taking advantage of a confused old woman, which is why we have DNA evidence, medical records, fingerprints from your old licenses that match current prints, dental records, testimony from people who knew Amelia Zara, including Tarek. Victor can argue all he wants. The evidence is irrefutable. I looked at the photographs again, at the woman I used to be. When do we tell Leela? Kareem's expression darkened. We don't, not yet. She's my daughter. She deserves to know. She sided with Victor tonight. She watched him humiliate you and said nothing. Until we know for certain whether she was complicit or merely manipulated, we tell her nothing. The words hurt, but he was right. Lila had chosen Victor. Maybe she didn't know the full extent of his plan, but she'd chosen him over me when it mattered. What's our next move? We document everything Victor does from this point forward. His investigators are still active. They don't know we're aware of them. We let them continue reporting to him, feeding him false confidence. Meanwhile, we build our case. Medical experts who can testify to your identity. Lawyers who can freeze any attempt he makes to claim guardianship. Evidence of his fraud. And then we spring the trap. We let him think he's winning right up until the moment we destroy him. I should have felt guilty, should have worried about Lila, about collateral damage, about being the bigger person. I felt nothing but cold rage. How long will this take? Weeks, maybe a month. We need to be thorough. Kareem closed the files. In the meantime, you can't go back to your apartment. Victor will have people watching, looking for evidence to support his incompetency claim. Any unusual behavior, any sign of confusion or instability, he'll use it. Where am I supposed to go? I have a property, a guest house in Presidio Heights, secure, private. You'll stay there until this is finished. A guest house in Presidio Heights. I'd gone from a studio apartment with water stains on the ceiling to a guest house in one of San Francisco's most expensive neighborhoods. The whiplash was dizzying. I don't have any clothes, any of my things. We'll have everything you need delivered tomorrow. For tonight. He gestured to Tarek, who left and returned with a bag. Basic necessities. Toiletries, sleepwear, something to wear tomorrow. I took the bag. It felt surreal. All of it. 12 hours ago, I'd been getting ready for dinner at my daughter's house. Now I was someone else entirely. Can I ask you something? I looked at Kareem. Why did you spend 40 years managing my money? You could have walked away, declared me dead, distributed the assets. Why wait? His eyes softened. Because you saved my son. Because you gave your memory, your identity, your entire life to save children you'd never met. Because the world needs to know that people like you exist, that kindness and courage matter even when they cost everything. He paused. And because I promised myself that if I ever found you, I'd make sure you got back everything that was taken from you with interest. I didn't know what to say to that, didn't have words for the kind of loyalty that lasted 4 decades. Thank you, I finally managed. Don't thank me yet, we still have work to do. He stood. Tarek will drive you to the guest house. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start building your case. See, the guest house was a cottage that could have fit my entire apartment building inside it. 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, hardwood floors, and furniture that belonged in design magazines. Through the windows, I could see a garden with night-blooming jasmine. Tarek showed me how everything worked. The security system, the coffee maker, the television that rose out of a cabinet at the touch of a button. He was kind, patient, nothing like the 6-year-old boy I supposedly saved but couldn't remember. After he left, I stood in the middle of the living room and felt the full weight of the day crash over me. I'd been destroyed, revealed, reborn, all in the space of 6 hours. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out, expecting, I don't know what, Kareem, maybe, or a wrong number. It was Lila. Mom, I'm sorry about tonight. Victor explained everything. We're worried about you. Please call me. Victor explained everything. Of course he did. He probably told her I'd had some kind of episode, that the stress of being around wealthy people triggered something, that I needed help. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to type back, I'm not who you think I am, wanted to tell her everything. But Kareem's words echoed. Until we know whether she was complicit or merely manipulated, we tell her nothing. I deleted the message without responding. Let her worry. Let Victor think his plan was working. Let them both believe they'd broken me. They had no idea what was coming. I took a shower in a bathroom with heated floors and a rain shower head, put on pajamas that were softer than anything I'd ever owned, climbed into a bed with sheets that felt like silk, and I lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to reconcile the woman I'd been this morning with the woman I was now. Evelyn Carter was gone. She'd never really existed. But Amelia Zara, I didn't know her either. Didn't remember her life, her choices, her strength. I was caught between two identities belonging to neither. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Lila. Please, Mom, talk to me. I'm scared for you. I turned the phone off. She should be scared, not for me, for what I was about to do to the man she married. Because whoever I was, Evelyn, Amelia, or someone in between, I was done being silent, done being dismissed, done letting people who thought they were better than me decide my worth. Victor Hale wanted a fight. He was about to get one. And he had no idea he was fighting someone who'd survived war zones, bombs, and 40 years of amnesia. Someone who'd lost everything once and clawed her way back from nothing. Someone who had absolutely nothing left to lose. I closed my eyes and let sleep take me. Tomorrow we'd start planning his destruction. Tonight I'd rest in the ruins of my old life and gather my strength for the new one. Because this wasn't over, this was just beginning. I woke up to sunlight streaming through curtains I didn't recognize and spent a solid 30 seconds in pure panic before remembering where I was. The guest house, Kareem's property, not my studio apartment with its broken blinds and traffic noise. My phone, which I'd turned back on sometime during the night out of habit, showed 17 missed calls from Lila and 4 voicemails I couldn't bring myself to listen to. There were also 3 texts from numbers I didn't recognize. I deleted those without reading them. Victor's people, probably. Checking if I'd fallen apart yet. Sorry to disappoint. I made coffee in a machine that cost more than my monthly grocery budget and sat at the kitchen island, actual marble, cool under my palms, trying to figure out who the hell I was supposed to be now. Not Evelyn Carter, apparently. That woman was a construct, a placeholder, 40 years of memories that weren't entirely real. But Amelia Zara, she was a stranger, a surgeon who ran into burning buildings, a woman who came from money and spent it saving people in war zones. I couldn't reconcile that person with the one who'd clipped coupons and bought day-old bread for 40 years. My phone buzzed. Kareem. Car arriving at 9 a.m. We have appointments. Appointments, right. Because apparently I had a whole new life to step into, complete with lawyers and doctors and people who wanted to verify I was who Kareem said I was. The clothing Tarek had promised arrived at 8:30, not a bag. Bags plural. Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus, boutiques I'd never heard of. I opened the first one and found pants that actually fit. Blouses in colors I'd never worn. Shoes that didn't pinch. Everything in my size. Everything tasteful, expensive, appropriate for someone who was supposed to be worth. I still couldn't think about the number without my stomach lurching. I put on black pants and a cream silk blouse because it seemed safe, professional. The woman in the mirror looked more put together than Evelyn Carter ever had. The clothes fit properly. They didn't pull or gap or scream discount rack. I looked like I belonged in Kareem's world. I hated how good that felt. The car arrived exactly at 9. Not Tarek this time, a different driver, a woman in her 50s who introduced herself as Patricia and didn't ask questions. We drove to a medical building in the financial district, all glass and steel, and the kind of quiet money that doesn't need to announce itself. Kareem met me in the lobby. He looked like he'd slept well and had a team of people making sure his day ran smoothly, probably because he did. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Like I'm in someone else's life." "You are, your own." He gestured toward the elevators. "First appointment is with Dr. Sarah Chen, neurologist. She's going to run cognitive tests, review your medical history, establish baseline function. Victor's team will claim you're mentally compromised. We need documentation proving otherwise." We rode up in silence. The office was all warm wood and soft lighting, designed to make you feel calm. A woman in her 40s greeted us, Dr. Chen presumably. She had kind eyes and a handshake that was firm without being aggressive. "Miss Carter," she said, "or should I say Dr. Zara?" "I don't know what you should call me." The honesty surprised me. "I don't remember being her." "That's what we're here to explore." She led me to an examination room. "Mr. Alzahed has filled me in on your medical history. The traumatic brain injury in 1983, the resulting amnesia, the 40 years since. I'm going to run some tests. Nothing invasive, just assessments to evaluate your current cognitive function and see if there are any triggers that might help recover lost memories. And if there aren't, if I never remember being Amelia Zara, then you're still Amelia Zara. Memory doesn't define identity." She pulled out a tablet. "Now, let's start with some basic questions." The tests went on for 2 hours. Memory exercises, pattern recognition, problem solving. She showed me photographs from my old life, the hospital in Beirut, colleagues I supposedly knew, places I'd worked. I felt nothing. No recognition, no flicker of familiarity. "This is from your apartment in Boston," Dr. Chen said, showing me a picture of a brownstone. "Before you left for Lebanon. Do you remember it?" I stared at the photo, tried to conjure something, anything. "No." "What about this?" Another photo. A man, maybe 30, smiling at the camera, handsome in an academic way. "Who is he?" "According to Mr. Al-Zahid's research, his name was David. You were engaged." Engaged. I'd had a fiancé, someone who'd loved me, planned a life with me, and I felt absolutely nothing looking at his picture. What happened to him? He married someone else 5 years after you disappeared. He's still alive, living in Vermont. We can arrange a meeting if you'd like." "No." The word came out harder than I intended. "I don't want to dredge up his past. I'm a stranger to him now." Dr. Chen made a note. "The lack of emotional response is consistent with your condition. The memories aren't suppressed. They're genuinely gone. Your brain restructured itself around new patterns after the injury." She paused. "But cognition-wise? You're sharp as a tack. Vocabulary, reasoning, executive function, all excellent. Whatever Victor Hale's team tries to claim, I can testify that you're completely competent to manage your own affairs. Small victories." The next appointment was with a lawyer, Marcus Webb, senior partner at some firm with a name longer than a sentence. His office was exactly what you'd expect: mahogany, leather, diplomas covering one wall like trophies. He looked like he'd been born wearing a suit. "Miss Zara," he said, shaking my hand, "I've reviewed your case. It's fascinating. Also a legal nightmare, but we'll handle that." "How much of a nightmare?" "Victor Hale filed a petition this morning requesting temporary guardianship. Claims you exhibited concerning behavior at his home, that you may be experiencing cognitive decline and need protection." My stomach dropped. That was fast. He's been planning this for months. He has documentation ready, witness statements from last night's dinner, reports from his investigator suggesting you've been showing signs of confusion, even a psychiatrist willing to testify that your behavior pattern indicates early dementia. That's insane. I don't have dementia. I know, Dr. Chen's evaluation will counter that, but Victor's playing a long game here. He's not trying to prove you're incompetent right now. He's trying to establish a pattern. Tonight's incident, combined with whatever else he manufactures over the next few weeks, builds a narrative. By the time it goes before a judge, he'll have a file full of evidence. So what do we do? Marcus leaned back in his chair. We let him think he's winning. We respond to his petition with standard objections. No merit, malicious intent, etc. We don't mention Amelia Zara yet. We keep that card hidden until the right moment. When's the right moment? When he's committed fully. When he's in front of a judge making his case, thinking he's about to win. That's when we reveal you're not just Evelyn Carter. That's when we show the fortune he's trying to steal. That's when we prove he's known your real identity for months and orchestrated this entire scheme to defraud you. Kareem spoke up from where he'd been standing by the window. We also need to consider Lila's position in this. Your daughter? Marcus flipped through papers. She's listed as co-petitioner on the guardianship request. The words hit like a slap. She what? She signed the petition. It's filed jointly. Victor and Lila Hale requesting guardianship of Evelyn Carter due to mental incapacity. I couldn't breathe, couldn't process it. She thinks I'm losing my mind. Or she knows exactly what Victor's doing and she's complicit. Kareem's voice was gentle but firm. Either way, legally she's acting against your interests. She's my daughter. She's also an adult who just signed a legal document to have you declared incompetent. I'm sorry. I know this is painful, but you need to see her clearly right now. I wanted to argue, wanted to defend her, but the evidence was right there in black and white. Lila's signature next to Victor's. Both of them asking a court to take away my rights. My baby girl, the one I'd raised alone after her father walked out, the one I'd worked 2 jobs to put through school. She was trying to have me declared mentally unfit. What do I do? Nothing yet, Marcus said. We respond to the petition through proper channels. We establish you're competent. And we start gathering evidence of Victor's fraud. If Lila's truly manipulated, seeing proof might snap her out of it. If she's complicit, well, that's a different problem. I left that office feeling hollowed out. The car took us back to the guest house. Kareem walked me to the door. I know this is overwhelming, he said. My daughter is trying to have me committed. Your daughter is either being manipulated by a con artist or she's complicit in fraud. Either way, you can't trust her right now. She's all I have. No. He caught my arm gently. You have resources. You have people who believe you. You have a life waiting to be reclaimed. Lila is not all you have. She's just all you've allowed yourself to have for 40 years. The words stung because they were true. I built my entire identity around being Lila's mother. After her father left, after the struggles and the poverty and the endless worry about making rent, she'd been my reason for everything, and now she was gone too. Get some rest, Kareem said. Tomorrow we meet with the private investigator I've hired. He's been tracking Victor's team. We need to know what they know. I went inside. The beautiful guest house felt like a cage. I paced, made tea I didn't drink, stared at my phone like it might offer answers. Lila called at 4 p.m. I watched it ring, watched her name flash on the screen. Didn't answer. She left a voicemail. I listened to it on speaker, standing in the middle of the kitchen like the voice might burn me if I held the phone too close. Mom, please pick up. I'm worried sick. Victor told me what the doctor said about the confusion, the memory problems. We just want to help. We want to make sure you're safe. Please come home. Or let us come to you. We can figure this out together. I love you. Please call me back. The doctors. What doctors? I hadn't seen any doctors except Dr. Chen, and she'd found me completely competent. Victor was feeding her lies, telling her I'd been evaluated and found wanting, building his case in her mind before he built it in court. I called Kareem. She left a message, I said when he answered, talking about doctors I never saw, diagnosis I don't have. He's gaslighting her, making her think professionals have confirmed his narrative, or she's in on it and this is part of the act. We'll know soon. My investigator found something. Can you meet tonight? 8 o'clock, my office. What did he find? Evidence. The kind that changes everything. I showed up at Kareem's office at 7:45, wearing one of my new outfits and feeling like a fraud. The investigator was already there, a man named James Reeves, who looked like a college professor, all rumpled blazer and wire-rimmed glasses. Not what I'd expected from a private investigator. Miss Carter, he said, shaking my hand, or Miss Zara, which do you prefer? I don't know yet. Fair enough. He spread photographs across the conference table. I've been tracking Victor Hale's investigator, a man named Derek Price. Price has been surveilling you for 6 months. 6 months? Since October, right around the time Victor first learned about the connection between Evelyn Carter and Amelia Zara. He pointed to a photograph. This is you at the grocery store. This is you at the library. This is you getting coffee. Price documented your routine, looking for any behavior he could frame as concerning. The photograph showed me going about my ordinary life. Nothing scandalous. Just an older woman running errands. He also planted items in your apartment. My blood went cold. What? Small things, objects out of place, a bottle of pills you don't take moved to your kitchen counter, your mail opened and left scattered. He was creating evidence that you were becoming forgetful, disorganized, setting up a pattern. How do you know this? Because I've been watching him watch you, and because his assistant got sloppy, left a checklist in his car, items to plant, behaviors to document, scenarios to create. James pulled out another photo. This is the night before last. Derek Price entering your apartment building. 40 minutes later, leaving with what appears to be a small silver spoon in his pocket. The spoon Victor accused me of stealing. The spoon Price planted in your purse during the dinner party. We have footage of him in the powder room right before you went in. He had access. He planted it. Victor discovered it. Perfect setup. I stared at the evidence, the meticulous planning, the months of surveillance, all of it leading to that one humiliating moment at dinner. Does Lila know? That's what we need to determine. James pulled up a recording on his laptop. This is from 2 weeks ago, audio from Victor's car. He has Bluetooth connection to his phone, which means calls route through the car's system. I have a source at the dealership who installed a redundant recorder. Completely illegal for me to have this, which means it's inadmissible in court, but useful for us to know what we're dealing with. He hit play. Victor's voice filled the room, smooth, confident. Timeline is set. The dinner party happens Thursday. Price plants the spoon during the powder room window. I discover it, make a scene, discredit her publicly. Another voice, a woman, not Lila. And if she denies it? Doesn't matter. The seed is planted. Witnesses see her caught with stolen property. We follow up with the guardianship petition Friday morning. Between the theft and the concerning behavior Price has documented, we have enough for a temporary order. What about Lila? Lila's convinced her mother is struggling financially and emotionally. She thinks we're helping. She'll sign the petition because she believes it's in Evelyn's best interest. And when she finds out about the money, Victor laughed. It was an ugly sound. By then I'll have control of the trust, community property, sweetheart. What's hers is mine, including guardianship rights over her mentally incompetent mother. You're sure about the identity, that Evelyn Carter is really Amelia Zara? DNA doesn't lie. Price got a sample from her coffee cup, ran it against Zara's old medical records. Perfect match. She has no idea she's sitting on $200 million. No idea she was someone important. She's been living like a pauper for 40 years while her fortune compounded. It's almost poetic. And if she figures it out, she won't. She's got no one, no support system, no resources, just a daughter who thinks she's losing her mind, and a son-in-law who's about to become very, very rich. The recording ended. I sat there trembling, not from fear, from rage. Karim watched me carefully. Are you all right? He called me a pauper. He called you a lot of things. Focus on the important part. Lila doesn't know. She thinks she's helping you. She still signed the petition because he manipulated her, made her think you're declining. She's a victim here too. She's an adult who chose to believe him over me. Yes, and that's something you'll have to deal with. But the immediate problem is Victor. We have evidence of his fraud, his conspiracy, his intent to steal your fortune. We can't use this recording in court, but we can use what it tells us to set our own trap. James spoke up. Victor thinks he's 2 steps ahead. He doesn't know you've reclaimed your identity. Doesn't know we have his investigators' documentation. Doesn't know Karim has been managing Amelia Zara's trust for 40 years and knows exactly where every penny is. So what's the play? Karim leaned forward. We give him rope. Let him file his petition. Let him bring his evidence to court. Let him argue you're incompetent. And when he's committed, when he thinks he's won, we reveal everything. Your real identity, the fortune, his fraud, all of it in front of a judge with legal consequences. When? The hearing is scheduled for next week. Preliminary evaluation to determine if temporary guardianship is warranted. Victor will present his case. His witnesses from the dinner party, Price's documentation, probably a psychiatrist who'll testify you're showing signs of decline. And we counter with what? Dr. Chen's evaluation, character witnesses, financial records showing you've managed your modest affairs perfectly well for decades. We establish you're competent as Evelyn Carter. We don't mention Amelia Zara yet. Why not? Because if we reveal your identity now, Victor pivots, claims he was trying to help you understand your past, reframes himself as the hero. We need him to commit to the narrative that you're incompetent and he's saving you from yourself. Then we prove he's a liar who's been planning this theft for months. Marcus Webb spoke up from where he'd been taking notes. The judge will ask if you want representation. We'll make sure you have the best lawyers money can buy, your money technically. Victor doesn't know you have resources. He thinks you're defenseless. The shock when you show up with a legal team will be delicious. What about Lila? What about her? Karim's voice was hard. Does she testify against me? Probably. Victor will want her there, saying she's noticed changes in your behavior, expressing concern. It'll hurt. You need to prepare for that. I thought about my daughter, about raising her alone, sacrificing everything to give her opportunities I never had, about watching her grow into a stranger who wore designer clothes and married a monster. I can handle it, but I wasn't sure I could. The next 5 days were a blur. More doctors, more lawyers, more evidence gathering. Karim's team worked around the clock, building a case so airtight Victor wouldn't be able to breathe when it closed around him. I stayed in the guest house, didn't go out, didn't risk being photographed by Price's surveillance team doing anything Victor could spin as concerning. I read through medical journals I'd supposedly written, trying to find some connection to the woman I'd been. Felt nothing. Lila called every day. I didn't answer. She left messages, increasingly frantic, increasingly convinced I was having some kind of breakdown. Victor was doing his job well, poisoning her against me while pretending to care. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I paced the guest house until 2 a.m., then gave up and made tea. Sat at the kitchen island in silk pajamas that cost more than my old month's rent, and tried to figure out who the hell I was. Not Evelyn Carter. She'd been a construction, a shell built around empty spaces where memories should be. But not Amelia Zara either. I couldn't remember her life, couldn't access her experiences. Reading about her felt like reading someone else's biography. I was caught between 2 women, belonging to neither. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know what you're planning. It won't work. Drop this before you get hurt. I stared at it, took a screenshot, forwarded it to Karim with a message. Victor getting nervous? His response came immediately. Let him be. Fear makes people sloppy. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we end this. I tried. Lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios. Victor would have his witnesses, his evidence, his narrative all polished and ready. He'd make me sound pathetic, confused, declining, and I'd have to sit there and take it until the moment we struck back. I must have dozed off eventually because I woke to sunlight and Patricia knocking on the door with coffee and a garment bag. "Mr. Al-Zahid sent this," she said, "for court." The suit inside was perfect, navy, tailored, expensive without being flashy, the kind of thing a competent woman would wear to defend herself against baseless accusations. I put it on, looked in the mirror. The woman looking back was neither Evelyn nor Amelia. She was something new, something harder, something ready for war. The courthouse was downtown, all marble and authority and the weight of justice that didn't always get served. Kareem met me on the steps with Marcus Webb and 2 associates whose names I immediately forgot. "Ready?" Kareem asked. "No, but let's do it anyway." We walked in together, through security, up elevators, down halls that echoed with 100 other people's legal nightmares. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, a judge's bench, tables for opposing sides. Victor was already there. He wore a charcoal suit and an expression of concerned gravity. Next to him sat his lawyer, a woman in her 50s who looked like she ate souls for breakfast, and next to her, looking pale and miserable, was Lila, my daughter, wearing a black dress like she was attending a funeral. Maybe she was. Our eyes met across the courtroom. Hers widened. She half rose from her seat like she might come to me. Victor's hand on her arm stopped her. "All rise," the bailiff called. Judge Sandra Morrison entered. She was 60-something with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing. She'd seen every scam, every con, every family turned against itself over money. This was just another Thursday for her. "Be seated," she said. "We're here for a preliminary hearing on the petition for guardianship of Evelyn Marie Carter, filed by Victor Hale and Lila Hale. Counsel, state your appearances." Victor's lawyer stood. "Amanda Pierce, representing the petitioners, Your Honor." Marcus stood. "Marcus Webb, representing Miss Carter, along with associates David Chen and Rachel Morrison." Judge Morrison's eyebrow lifted slightly at the firepower I'd brought. Victor noticed too. I saw him lean toward Amanda Pierce, whispering. She shook her head slightly. They hadn't expected me to have representation. Certainly not lawyers from a firm that charged 5 figures just to file paperwork. "Ms. Pierce," the judge said, "this is your petition. Make your case." And Victor's lawyer began to destroy me. She painted a picture of a woman in decline, confused, forgetful, engaging in erratic behavior. She called witnesses from the dinner party who testified they'd seen me acting strangely, noticed me slip away to the powder room, observed Victor's shock when the spoon was discovered in my purse. She called Derek Price, the investigator who'd planted the damn thing, who testified about months of surveillance showing concerning patterns. Me leaving my apartment at odd hours, me talking to myself in the grocery store, me unable to find my car in a parking lot. All of it lies, or distortions, or moments taken out of context and twisted into evidence of incompetence. I sat there, hands clasped in my lap, face neutral. Marcus had coached me. Don't react. Don't let them see they're getting to you. Then Amanda Pierce called Lila. My daughter took the stand like she was walking to an execution. She wouldn't look at me. "Ms. Hale," Pierce said gently, "you're Evelyn Carter's daughter, is that correct?" "Yes." Lila's voice was barely audible. "And you've noticed changes in your mother's behavior recently?" Yes. She's been distant, confused. When I try to talk to her about it, she gets defensive." "Can you describe the incident at your home last week?" Lila's hands twisted in her lap. "We invited her to dinner, a small family gathering. She seemed nervous, out of place. Then Victor discovered a silver spoon, a family heirloom, in her purse. When he asked about it, she became agitated, denied taking it. She was so upset that she left." Did her denial seem genuine or confused? Confused, like she genuinely didn't remember taking it. Pierce nodded sympathetically. "And this concerns you? Makes you worry about her ability to care for herself?" "Yes." Lila's voice broke. I love my mother. I just want to make sure she's safe, that she's getting the help she needs. I wanted to scream, wanted to stand up and tell her she was being used, manipulated, turned into a weapon against me. But Marcus's hand on my arm kept me still. Thank you, Miss Hale. No further questions. Marcus stood. I have some questions for the witness, Your Honor. Proceed. He approached Lila like she was made of glass. Miss Hale, when was the last time you had a substantial conversation with your mother? Before this dinner party? Lila hesitated. We text occasionally. Occasionally. Can you be more specific? Maybe once a month? Once a month. And before that, when did you last spend time together? I don't know. A few months? A few months. So your observation of her behavior is based on limited recent contact, I suppose. But, and the dinner party where the alleged theft occurred, who planned it? Victor thought it would be nice to... Victor planned it. Did you invite your mother? Victor suggested it would be good for us to reconnect. I see. And this family heirloom, the silver spoon, had you ever seen it before that night? Lila paused. No, I don't think so. You don't think so, but Victor told you it was a precious family heirloom? Yes. And you believed him because he's my husband. Why would he lie? Marcus let the question hang there. Indeed, why would he? No further questions. Lila stepped down. She looked at me finally, her eyes pleading. For what? Understanding? Forgiveness? I gave her nothing. Judge Morrison called a recess. 15 minutes. I stood in the hallway with my legal team while Victor and Lila huddled with theirs across the corridor. He's got a thin case, Marcus said quietly. The witnesses are flimsy. Lila's testimony helps him, but she admitted she barely sees you. We can counter this. Do it. The second half opened with our witnesses. Dr. Chen testified about my cognitive evaluation. Perfect scores. No signs of decline. No indication of incompetence. We called my former landlord, who testified I'd never missed a rent payment, never caused problems, seemed perfectly capable of managing my affairs. We called a neighbor who said I was quiet, kept to myself, but always seemed perfectly lucid when we spoke in passing. Small testimonies, nothing dramatic, just the steady drumbeat of competence. Then Marcus did something I didn't expect. He called me. I took the stand, feeling every eye in that courtroom on me. The judge, Victor, Lila, all of them trying to figure out if I was the pathetic, confused old woman Victor had painted or something else entirely. Miss Carter, Marcus said, do you understand why we're here today? Yes. My son-in-law is trying to have me declared incompetent so he can control my life. And how does that make you feel? Angry, betrayed, determined to fight back. These accusations of theft, of confusion, are they true? No, I didn't take that spoon. I've never stolen anything. And I'm not confused. I know exactly what's happening here. What is happening here? I looked directly at Victor. Someone decided I'm easy prey, an old woman living alone on a fixed income, someone who wouldn't fight back, someone whose own daughter could be convinced to turn against her. I shifted my gaze to Lila. She flinched. They underestimated me. No further questions, Marcus said. Amanda Pierce stood. Ms. Carter, isn't it true that you've been experiencing financial difficulties? I live on Social Security. It's not difficulty. It's reality for millions of Americans. And isn't it true that you might benefit from help managing your finances? I've managed them fine for 40 years. Have you? She pulled out papers. According to your bank statements, you've overdrawn your account 3 times in the past year. By small amounts, $20 once, $15 another time. Mistakes anyone makes, all corrected immediately. Still, evidence of struggle, wouldn't you say? Evidence of being poor, not incompetent. And the spoon was planted in my purse by your investigator, Derek Price, who's been surveilling me for 6 months at Victor's direction. The courtroom went silent. Pierce's expression flickered just for a second before she recovered. That's a serious accusation, she said carefully. It's the truth. Your client has been planning this for months, manufacturing evidence, creating a narrative, all to steal something I didn't even know I had. Your Honor, Pierce turned to the judge. The witness is clearly confused, making wild accusations. I'm not confused. I stood up in the witness box. Marcus made a motion for me to sit, but I ignored him. I'm angry. There's a difference. And I'm done being quiet while people who think they're better than me decide what I'm capable of. Ms. Carter, Judge Morrison started. I know I'm not supposed to speak out of turn. I know this isn't how court works, but I need to say this. I looked at Lila. I raised you alone. Your father left when you were 3. I worked 2 jobs to keep you fed and clothed. And in that private school you wanted, I sacrificed everything so you could have opportunities I never did. And this is how you repay me, by signing a paper to have me declared incompetent, by believing a man you've known for 5 years over the woman who gave you life. Tears streamed down Lila's face. Victor's hand was on her arm again, holding her in place. Sit down, Miss Carter, the judge said firmly. This outburst is not helping your case. I sat, but I'd said what I needed to say. The judge looked at both legal teams. I'm going to take this under advisement. I'll issue a ruling within 48 hours. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down. We'd done it, planted seeds of doubt, made Victor's case look suspicious. Now we waited. I stood to leave. Lila broke free from Victor and rushed toward me. Mom, please. Don't. I held up my hand. Don't call me that right now. I was trying to help. Victor said, Victor's a liar, and you chose to believe him. I didn't know what to believe. You wouldn't talk to me. You wouldn't explain. I shouldn't have to explain that I'm not losing my mind. You should know me better than that. She reached for me. I stepped back. When you're ready to hear the truth, I said quietly, call me. But until then, stay with your husband. You've made your choice. I walked away, left her standing there crying while Victor came to collect her like property he owned. Outside, Kareem was waiting. That went better than expected, he said. Did it? I just alienated my daughter even further. You spoke truth. Sometimes that's all you can do. He guided me toward the car. The judge seemed skeptical of Victor's case. We have a good chance at winning this preliminary round. And then we file our own suit. Fraud, conspiracy, attempted theft. We bring the full weight of Amelia Zara's resources down on Victor Hale, and we destroy him. I should have felt victorious. We'd fought them to a draw at least, but all I felt was empty. I'd lost my daughter today. Maybe not permanently. Maybe she'd wake up and see what Victor was, but right now she was gone. And I was alone with a name I couldn't remember, and a fortune I didn't want if it cost me the only family I had. The car drove me back to the guest house. I went inside, took off the expensive suit, put on pajamas that cost more than my old car. I made tea and sat in silence, waiting for the judge's ruling and wondering if winning this fight meant losing everything that mattered. The judge's ruling came 36 hours later, not 48. Apparently, Sandra Morrison didn't need the full time to see through Victor's bullshit. Kareem called me at 7 in the morning. I was already awake, hadn't really slept, just laid there watching shadows move across the ceiling and thinking about Lila's face in that courtroom. She denied the petition, he said without preamble. Completely. Called Victor's evidence circumstantial at best, potentially fabricated at worst. She's ordering a full investigation into Derek Price's surveillance activities and the circumstances around the dinner party incident. I should have felt relief, victory, something. Instead, I just felt tired. What does that mean for Victor? Or it means he lost round 1, but he's not done. Men like him don't quit when the first plan fails. They adapt. Kareem paused. We need to move faster. Push him into a corner before he regroups. How? By doing what we planned from the beginning. Revealing who you really are. Not to a judge this time. To Victor. Directly, in a way he can't escape or manipulate. You want to confront him. I want to set a trap, make him think he still has a chance to get what he wants, then spring it when he's completely exposed. I sat up, pushed hair out of my face. What kind of trap? The kind that requires bait. Are you willing to sit across from the man who tried to destroy you and let him think he's winning? Every instinct screamed no. Screamed to stay hidden in this guest house, let the lawyers handle everything, never have to see Victor's smug face again. But that wasn't who Amelia Zara had been. She'd run into burning buildings, saved lives in war zones. She hadn't hidden from danger. Maybe I couldn't remember being her, but I could choose to act like her. Tell me what you need me to do. 2 days later, I sat in a private dining room at a restaurant I couldn't have afforded a month ago. The kind of place that didn't have prices on the menu because if you had to ask, you didn't belong there. Karim had reserved the room. Just the three of us, he told Victor. You, me, and Evelyn, to discuss a potential settlement. Victor thought he was coming to negotiate my surrender. Karim had played it perfectly. Suggested that perhaps guardianship wasn't necessary if certain financial arrangements could be made. Hinted that I might be willing to give Lila control of my meager assets in exchange for being left alone. Victor had agreed immediately. Of course he had. He thought he was about to get everything he wanted without the mess of a prolonged legal battle. He had no idea what was waiting for him. I wore another one of the new outfits. A burgundy dress that Karim's stylist had picked out, simple, elegant, the kind of thing that whispered money without shouting it. My hair was done. Makeup applied by someone who actually knew what they were doing. I looked put together in a way Evelyn Carter never had. Victor arrived 15 minutes late, power move, making us wait. He wore a navy suit and that same concerned expression he'd had in court. Behind him, surprisingly, was Lila. I hadn't expected her. The sight of my daughter walking into that room made my stomach drop. Evelyn, Victor said, all false warmth. Thank you for agreeing to meet. I know things have been difficult between us, but I genuinely believe we can work this out. For Lila's sake, if nothing else. He pulled out a chair for Lila. She sat without looking at me. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying recently. Good. She should cry. She'd earned it. Karim stood, extended his hand to Victor. Mr. Hale, thank you for coming. Please sit. We have a lot to discuss. Victor shook his hand, sat across from me. His eyes flicked over my appearance, the dress, the jewelry Karim had insisted I wear, the confidence I was barely managing to fake. Something shifted in his expression, confusion, suspicion. You look well, Evelyn, he said carefully. Better than at the courthouse. I've had time to rest, to think clearly about my situation. Good, that's good. He glanced at Karim. Your representative mentioned a possible settlement, something that would allow everyone to move forward without further legal action. Did he? I kept my voice level. That's interesting, because I don't remember authorizing any such discussion. Victor's smile tightened. Perhaps there was miscommunication, but surely you can see that continued conflict serves no one. Lila is caught in the middle. You're under stress. The courts are involved. Wouldn't it be simpler to come to an arrangement privately? What kind of arrangement did you have in mind? Well, he leaned back, getting comfortable, thinking he was in control. Given your financial constraints and the concerns about your ability to manage your affairs, perhaps it would make sense for Lila to have power of attorney, just as a precaution, to help with bills, medical decisions if needed. Nothing invasive, just support. Support. I let the word hang there. From my daughter who signed a petition to have me declared incompetent. Lila flinched but said nothing. That was a misunderstanding, Victor said smoothly. We were genuinely worried. The incident at our home, your behavior, the spoon you planted in my purse, you mean? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Victor's expression went very still. I'm sorry, what? The silver spoon. The one your investigator, Derek Price, planted in my purse after surveilling me for 6 months at your direction. That incident. That's a serious accusation. It's the truth. We have documentation, photographs of Price entering my building the night before your dinner party, footage of him in your powder room right before I went in. a detailed account of every moment of his surveillance operation. I smiled. It felt sharp. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Victor looked at Karim. What is this? What's going on here? This, Karim said calmly, is the conversation we should have had from the beginning, an honest one. Lila. Victor turned to my daughter. We should leave. This is clearly some kind of ambush. Stay. My voice cut through his. Both of you, because you need to hear this. Lila's eyes finally met mine. They were wide, scared. Mom, what's happening? What's happening is that your husband has been lying to you, about me, about his intentions, about everything. I pulled out a folder Karim had prepared, opened it, spread photographs across the table. These are images of Derek Price, the man Victor hired, documenting my daily routine, going through my mail, planting items in my apartment to make me look forgetful, building a case to prove I'm incompetent. Lila stared at the photos. Victor, what is this? Lies, fabrications. But his voice was too tight, too controlled. Evelyn is clearly being manipulated by this man. This man's name is Karim Al-Zahid, I said. In 1983, I saved his son's life, pulled him out of a burning building in Beirut while I was working as a trauma surgeon in a war zone. I don't remember doing it because an explosion took my memory, but the evidence doesn't lie. Medical records, photographs, DNA tests. I pulled out more documents. My real name isn't Evelyn Carter. It's Amelia Zara. I come from a wealthy family. I was a respected surgeon. And when I disappeared 40 years ago, my assets were placed in a trust that's been growing ever since. Silence. Complete suffocating silence. Lila's face had gone white. What are you talking about? Your mother, Karim said quietly, is worth approximately $240 million. Has been this entire time. She just didn't know it. Victor lunged across the table. Not physically, he was too smart for that, but his whole body jerked forward, hands slamming down on the polished wood. You can't prove any of this. It's insane. She's a retired data entry clerk living in a studio apartment. Because she had amnesia, Karim interrupted. Because she was given a false identity after a traumatic brain injury. Because she's been living a constructed life for 4 decades while her real fortune sat waiting. And you found out about it 3 months ago. That's absurd. We have the report from your investigator. The one where he confirmed through DNA testing that Evelyn Carter and Amelia Zara are the same person. We have recordings of you discussing your plan to gain control of the trust through guardianship. We have everything, Mr. Hale. Victor sat back down. His expression shifted. The concerned son-in-law mask dropped. What replaced it was cold, calculating. Even if what you're saying is true, and I'm not admitting anything, she's been Evelyn Carter for 40 years. She has no memory of being this other person. A good lawyer could argue she's not mentally competent to suddenly claim an identity she doesn't remember, that she's been taken advantage of by people who want access to the supposed fortune. You mean the way you wanted access to it? I asked. By marrying my daughter and then trying to have me declared incompetent so you could control everything. I married Lila because I love her. You married Lila because you needed a connection to me, because you're drowning in debt. That hit. I saw it in his eyes, the flash of panic before he controlled it. Karim pulled out more papers. Your company is leveraged to the breaking point. You've taken loans against properties you don't fully own. You're 6 months from bankruptcy. This guardianship scheme wasn't just about greed. It was about survival. You needed that trust money to cover your losses. Lila. Victor grabbed her hand. Don't listen to this. They're trying to turn you against me. Did you know? Her voice was barely a whisper. Did you know about the money? Baby, it's not what it sounds like. Answer the question. Did you know my mother had money when you married me? The pause was too long. A fraction of a second too long. Lila pulled her hand away. Oh my God, it's complicated. Did you marry me to get to her? Her voice was rising, breaking. Was any of it real? Of course it was real. I love you. But yes, I knew about the trust. My investigator found the connection right after we started dating. But that doesn't mean you've known for 5 years. Lila stood up. Her chair scraped against the floor. You've known she had money this whole time, and you let her live in poverty. You watched her struggle and said nothing. I was waiting for the right time to tell you. The right time when? After you'd had her declared incompetent? After you'd stolen everything from her? Lila's hands were shaking. I signed that petition. I testified against her in court because you told me she was declining. You made me believe my mother was losing her mind. You were supposed to help me. Victor stood too. His composure was cracking. This was supposed to be simple. She had nothing. No one. We could have taken control, managed the money properly, set ourselves up for life, managed the money that belongs to my mother, money she didn't even know existed, money she's had for 40 years and never used. We would have been doing her a favor. A favor? I stood up slowly. You tried to destroy me, humiliated me in front of strangers, turned my daughter against me, planted evidence to make me look like a thief and a declining old woman. You call that a favor? You should be thanking me. Victor's voice cracked, real emotion bleeding through, desperation. I'm the one who found out who you really are. I could have kept that secret forever. Let you die as Evelyn Carter, none the wiser. But I didn't. I started this process that led to you discovering the truth. You started a fraud scheme, Kareem said coldly. You attempted to steal $240 million through deception and manipulation. The fact that we caught you doesn't make you a hero. It's still her money. She'll be fine. But what about me? Victor looked around the room wildly. I built a business, created jobs, made something of myself, and now it's falling apart because of bad investments and timing and things beyond my control. That trust sitting there doing nothing while I lose everything, where's the justice in that? The justice, I said quietly, is that it's not your money. It was never your money, and you don't get to take it just because you think you deserve it more than I do. You don't even remember earning it. You don't remember being Amelia Zara. You're not her anymore. You're just an old woman playing dress up in someone else's life. The words stung because they were partially true. I didn't remember being Amelia. Didn't feel connected to the woman in those photographs who'd saved lives and run into danger. But I was done letting other people define me. You're right, I said. I don't remember being her, but I am her. DNA doesn't lie. Medical records don't lie. And whether I remember it or not, I earned that money through skill and work and sacrifice. You earned nothing. You just married well and planned a theft. Lila. Victor turned to her. Final play. Last desperate grab. Think about this. We can still make this work. Your mother's clearly being influenced by this man. He's using her to access the trust. We can fight this together. Protect her from being exploited. Stop. Lila held up her hand. Just stop talking. Baby. Don't call me that. Don't call me anything. She looked at him like she was seeing a stranger. I've been married to you for 4 years. 4 years of you being distant, controlling, making decisions without consulting me. I thought it was just your personality, your business stress. I made excuses. Her voice broke. You were never stressed about business. You were stressed about how to steal from my mother. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? She turned to me, tears streaming down her face. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He told me you were having memory problems, that you'd been evaluated. He showed me papers. Forged papers, Karim interjected. From a psychiatrist who doesn't exist. We checked. Lila's face crumpled. I believed him. I should have believed you. You're my mother. You raised me. You worked yourself to exhaustion for me, and I repaid you by signing a paper to have you declared incompetent. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Part of me wanted to go to her, hold her, tell her it was okay, but it wasn't okay. She'd chosen wrong when it mattered, and sorry didn't erase that. I know you are, I said, but sorry isn't enough. You're an adult, Lila. You made choices. You believed a man you'd known for 5 years over the woman who gave you life. That's something you're going to have to live with. I know. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. She wiped her eyes. I need you to know I didn't know about the money, I swear. I thought he loved me. I thought we were helping you. But you didn't ask me. You didn't come to me directly and say, Mom, are you okay? What's going on? You went straight to legal action. You chose the easy path of believing I was the problem instead of questioning the man who stood to gain from my incompetence. She nodded, accepting it. You're right, I failed you. Victor made a sound of disgust. This is touching, really. But it doesn't change anything. You can't prove half of what you're claiming. The recordings you mentioned, inadmissible, obtained illegally. Same with surveillance of my investigator. A good lawyer will tear your case apart. You're right, Karim said, which is why we're not relying solely on evidence that might be challenged. We're relying on the fact that Amelia Zora's identity is documented, verified, and legally solid. We're relying on the fact that your bankruptcy is a matter of public record. We're relying on the pattern of behavior you've established, and we're relying on this. He pulled out a recording device. Small, sleek, currently running. This conversation, where you just admitted knowing about the trust when you married Lila, admitted planning to take control of it through guardianship, admitted your business is failing, all of it on the record, in your own words. Victor's face went ashen. You can't. California is a two-party consent state for recordings, Karim continued. But exceptions exist when one party believes a crime is being planned or confessed to. Fraud qualifies, and since this is a private dining room I reserved specifically for this meeting, I had every right to record what happened here, especially after you confirmed our suspicions. You set me up. We gave you rope. You hanged yourself. Karim turned off the recorder. Now here's what happens next. You're going to dissolve your marriage to Lila quietly. No contest. She gets half of what you actually own, which at this point is mostly debt, but that's your problem. You're going to drop any and all claims against Evelyn Carter, now known as Amelia Zara. You're going to instruct Derek Price to destroy all surveillance material he gathered, and you're going to disappear from both their lives permanently. And if I don't, then we take this recording to the district attorney. We file charges for fraud, conspiracy, attempted theft. We make sure every business associate you have knows exactly what kind of man you are. We ensure your bankruptcy is accompanied by criminal prosecution. You'll lose everything anyway, but you'll do it from a jail cell. Victor looked around the room, at me, at Lila, at Karim, looking for an out that didn't exist. You're bluffing. Try me. My voice was ice. I've lost 40 years of my life, had my identity stolen by a bomb, lived in poverty while sitting on a fortune I didn't know existed. You think I'm going to let you walk away from this? You think I'm going to show mercy to the man who tried to finish what that explosion started? Something in my tone must have convinced him. The fight went out of his body. His shoulders sagged. How long do I have? 72 hours to file for divorce, 1 week to have all claims dropped, 2 weeks to be completely out of their lives. Karim stood. And Victor? If you ever come near either of them again, if you ever speak about this publicly, if you ever try to contact Lila or extort money or do anything other than disappear quietly, that recording goes straight to the DA. Are we clear? Crystal? Good, you can leave now. Victor stood. He looked at Lila one last time. For what it's worth, I did love you. At first, before I knew about the money. That part was real. Don't, Lila said. Don't try to rewrite history to make yourself feel better. You loved my potential access to a fortune. That's all you ever loved. He left without another word. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like a coffin ceiling. Lila sat back down. She looked smaller somehow, fragile. What do I do now? She asked. That's up to you, I said. You have choices to make about your life, your future, what you want. I want to make this right with you. That's going to take time. You can't just apologize and expect everything to go back to normal. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I just want a chance to earn it back. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She was 28, an adult, but she'd also been manipulated by a predator who'd seen her as a means to an end. She'd made terrible choices, but she hadn't known the full picture. "We'll take it slow," I said finally. "I'm not ready to just let you back into my life like nothing happened. But I'm not cutting you off completely either. We'll figure it out together." She nodded. "Thank you. That's more than I deserve." Kareem stood. "I'll give you two some privacy. Evelyn, Amelia, we still have paperwork to finalize. The formal identity restoration, access to the trust accounts, decisions about what you want to do with your life now that you have resources. I'll call you tomorrow," I said. He left, and then it was just me and Lila, mother and daughter, separated by 4 years of marriage to the wrong man and one catastrophic betrayal. "I really am sorry, Mom," she said softly. "I should have known better. You never gave me a reason not to trust you, never lied to me, and I wanted to believe Victor was right, that we had this perfect life. I didn't want to see the truth." "Why didn't you?" She thought about it. Because admitting he was wrong meant admitting I'd made a mistake, a huge one. Marrying him, trusting him, building my whole life around him. It was easier to believe you were the problem than to face the fact that I'd chosen someone who didn't actually love me. He did love you in his way. He just loved money more. That's not love. I don't even know what that is. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything settling between us. "Are you really worth $240 million?" she asked, apparently. "And you didn't know all those years. You could have been living comfortably and you just didn't know." "The money doesn't bother me as much as the time. 40 years, Lila. 40 years I could have been Amelia Zara. Could have been doing the work I was trained for. Could have been saving lives. Instead, I was someone else, living a half-life based on false memories. Can you get them back, the real memories?" "Maybe, maybe not. Dr. Chen says it's unpredictable." I paused. "But even if I never remember being her, I can still choose to be her now, to do the things she would have done, use the resources she built to make a difference." "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. I need time to figure out who I am. Not Evelyn, not Amelia, just me, whoever that is." Lila reached across the table, stopped just short of touching my hand, waiting for permission. I gave it. Let her take my hand in hers. "Can I help?" she asked. "Not with the money. I don't want anything from you. I just want to help you figure out who you are now, if you'll let me. I don't know if I'm ready for that." "I understand, but when you are, if you ever are, I'm here. I know I broke your trust. I know it'll take years to rebuild, but I want to try. I want to be the daughter you deserved all along." I squeezed her hand. "Then start by being honest, always, even when it's hard, even when it means admitting you're wrong or scared or confused. That's all I've ever wanted, the truth. I can do that." Can you? Because it's going to get complicated. The divorce, the gossip, everyone in your social circle knowing your husband tried to defraud your mother. Are you ready to face that? She pulled her hand back, straightened her spine. "I don't care what they think. Most of them are terrible anyway. They only liked me because I was married to Victor, because we had money and threw parties and fit into their world. Let them gossip, let them judge. I'd rather have a relationship with you than keep friends who only valued me for my husband's bank account. That's going to be lonely." "Then I'll be lonely. I've been lonely in that marriage for years anyway. At least this time I'll be lonely with my dignity intact." I almost smiled, almost saw a glimpse of the girl I'd raised, the one who'd stood up to bullies in 5th grade, who'd argued with teachers when she thought they were wrong. That girl had gotten lost somewhere in designer clothes and society parties. Maybe she could find her way back. "Okay," I said, "we'll try, slowly, carefully, but we'll try." She nodded. "Thank you." We left the restaurant together, separate cars waiting, separate lives to figure out, but maybe, eventually, a path back to each other. I watched her drive away before getting into the Mercedes Patricia had brought around. The city lights blurred past the windows as we headed back to the guest house. My phone buzzed. A message from Kareem. "Victor's lawyer just called. He's accepting our terms. Divorce papers being filed tomorrow. This is over." Over. The word felt strange, too simple for everything that had happened. But he was right. The fight with Victor was over. He'd been beaten, exposed, removed from our lives like the cancer he was. The bigger question remained, what now? I had a fortune I didn't remember earning, an identity I couldn't recall living, a daughter who needed to rebuild trust, and a future that was suddenly terrifyingly open. For 40 years I'd lived small, constrained by poverty and routine and the limitations of Evelyn Carter's constructed life. Amelia Zara had lived big, run into danger, saved lives, made a difference. Who did I want to be now? The car pulled up to the guest house. I went inside, poured a glass of wine from a bottle I still couldn't believe I could afford, and sat in the dark thinking about second chances. Most people don't get them. Don't get to reclaim a life that was stolen. Don't get to start over with resources and time and possibility stretching out ahead. I'd been given something rare, something precious. The question was what I was going to do with it. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Dr. Zara, a woman's voice, tentative. I'm sorry to call so late. My name is Jennifer Reeves. I'm a nurse at Children's Hospital. I was told you might be. That is, we heard you'd been found, that you're back. Back from where? From... We thought you were dead. After Beirut, we held a memorial service, but Karim Al-Zahid contacted our board last week, said you were alive, that you'd had amnesia, but you're recovering your life. I didn't know what to say. I'm alive, but I don't remember. I know, he explained, but I had to call anyway, because we've been trying to contact someone about the foundation. What foundation? The Amelia Zara Foundation for Conflict Zone Medicine. You set it up before you left for Lebanon, endowed it with $5 million. It's been running for 40 years, training surgeons to work in war zones, funding field hospitals, saving thousands of lives. We've been operating without you all this time, but we've tried to honor your vision. And now that you're back, we hoped you might want to be involved again. A foundation. I'd started a foundation. I'd spent 40 years thinking I was nobody, doing nothing important, living a life that didn't matter. And the whole time, work I'd started was saving lives. Continuing a legacy I'd built before a bomb took it all away. I'd like that, I heard myself say. I'd like to be involved. Really? Oh, that's wonderful. We're having our annual gala next month. Fundraiser for expanding our training programs. Would you consider attending, maybe even speaking? Speaking in front of people about work I didn't remember doing. A month ago I would have said no, would have hidden, made myself small. But I wasn't Evelyn Carter anymore, wasn't bound by the limitations of that false life. Yes, I said, I'll be there. After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time, thinking about the woman I'd been, the woman I'd become, the woman I might still be. Amelia Zara had saved Karim's son 40 years ago, had started a foundation that was still saving lives, had built something that outlasted memory and trauma and 4 decades of absence. She'd mattered. She'd made a difference. And maybe, just maybe, I could too. I raised my glass to the darkness, to second chances, to lost memories and found lives, to daughters who needed to learn trust, and mothers who needed to learn forgiveness, to becoming someone worth remembering, even if I couldn't remember her myself. 3 months after the gala, I stood in front of a brownstone in Boston. Karim had brought me here without warning. This was yours, he said quietly, your home before Lebanon. Everything inside is exactly as you left it in 1983. He handed me a key. I climbed the steps, unlocked the door, walked into a life I'd forgotten. The rooms were frozen in time, dust-covered furniture, medical journals, photographs of strangers who should have been friends. I climbed the stairs, found the bedroom, a dress laid out on the bed, a half-packed suitcase, a journal on the nightstand. I picked it up with shaking hands. June 14th, 1983. Leave for Beirut tomorrow. David thinks I'm crazy for going early. He wants me safe, wants a wife who'll stay home. But I can't. People are dying. Every day I delay is lives I could save. Maybe we want different futures. Maybe love isn't enough when you're fundamentally different people. I'm going anyway. The last words Amelia Zara wrote before the explosion stole everything. I read through earlier entries. Arguments with David about her career. Dreams about expanding trauma medicine globally. A woman who knew exactly who she was and refused to be smaller for anyone. She'd been brave, uncompromising, everything Evelyn had forgotten to be. Karim found me sitting on the bed, crying over a life I couldn't remember. "Did you find what you were looking for?" he asked. I found her, the real her. She was fighting with her fiancé about whether to go to Lebanon. He wanted her to stay. She went anyway. I looked up. She chose purpose over safety every single time. I know. David reached out when he heard you'd been found. He wanted to see you, but he asked me to give you this. Karim handed me an envelope, a letter he wrote 40 years ago. Never sent it because he thought you were dead. I took it, but didn't open it, not yet. What happened to him? He remarried, had children, became a respected surgeon, retired in Vermont, by all accounts happy. Good, he shouldn't have forgotten me. The words came out harder than intended. I died being exactly who I said I was. If he'd really loved me, he would have understood that. I kept the brownstone, but didn't live there. It was Amelia's house. I was something else now, someone new. That week, Lila's divorce was finalized. She called me crying, but relieved. It's over. I'm not Mrs. Hale anymore. I'm just me. She'd enrolled at UC Berkeley. Graduate program in art conservation, living in a small apartment in Oakland. She'd started going by Delilah instead of Lila, said it felt more authentic. "Can I come over?" she asked. "I want to show you something." An hour later, she spread photographs across my coffee table. Before and after shots of a Renaissance painting she'd restored. "Look at it. I spent 6 weeks repairing the damage without destroying the original. You can still see where the cracks were, but it's whole again." She looked at me. "That's what you're doing with your life. You can't erase 40 years of damage, but you can restore yourself. Make yourself whole again without pretending the trauma didn't happen." I stared at the image, at proof that broken things could be beautiful again. When did you get so wise? I learned from someone who taught me that surviving isn't the same as thriving. That night, alone, I finally opened David's letter. "Dear Amelia, they tell me you're gone. I'm angry at you for choosing strangers over a future with me, but I'm also proud. You died being exactly who you said you were. I wanted to change you, make you want the life I wanted. I couldn't understand why that wasn't enough. Now I do. You needed extraordinary. You needed impossible. I loved a fantasy version of you, not who you actually were. I'm sorry for that. If somehow you're reading this, I want you to know I finally understand. Some people are meant to burn bright and fast. You lived more in 30 years than most do in 80. I'll miss you forever. But I'm grateful I knew you at all, David." I folded the letter carefully. He'd understood, eventually. But it had taken my death to teach him. The Foundation's work expanded rapidly. Yemen deployment in April. Dr. Masood sent videos. Surgeons in scrubs, covered in blood, saving lives in impossible conditions. 43 surgeries in 2 weeks. "This is your doing, Dr. Zara," he said in one message. "Your vision, your legacy continuing." In June, Karim invited me to dinner at his family home. His wife Nadia hugged me like we were old friends. "Finally," she said, "Karim's told me everything. Come, I want to hear about this gala where you committed $50 million in one speech." The dinner was warm, loud, real. Tarek and his family, stories and laughter and connection. Afterward, Karim and I sat on his porch. "I need to tell you something," he said. "I'm stepping down as executor. You don't need me managing your life anymore." "I'll always need you as a friend, not as a keeper. I'm 73. I've spent 40 years managing someone else's fortune. I want to spend whatever time I have left just being a grandfather. Then stay as my friend. Help me not be stupid with money. Tell me when I'm making choices based on guilt instead of strategy. I can do that." In August, I moved into my own place, a condo in Pacific Heights, something that felt like me. Lila helped me unpack. We hung pictures, arranged furniture, made it home. What happens to the money when you die? She asked quietly. Most goes to the foundation, medical research, training programs, but there's a trust for you, structured, so no one can manipulate you into giving it away. You'll have income, freedom, options, but the principle is protected. Because you don't trust me. Because I love you enough to protect you from the next victor. She nodded. That's fair. I hate it, but it's fair. That night my phone rang. Elena Petrov, a surgeon in Ukraine. Dr. Zara, I trained through your foundation 15 years ago. We need help. The fighting's getting worse. People are dying. I thought if there was any chance, send me a list, equipment, personnel, everything you need. We'll make it happen. Just like that, that's what the money is for. After we hung up, I thought about Victor. His greed had set me free. If he'd never found the connection between Evelyn and Amelia, I'd still be living in that studio apartment. I'd have died never knowing I'd been someone important. The irony was brutal, but I didn't hate him anymore. He was just a small man who'd made small choices and paid appropriate prices. He didn't deserve any more of my energy. The foundation's annual report came out in September. I'd written a message. A year ago, I was nobody. Then I discovered I was wrong. I'd been somebody once. An explosion stole that from me. I can't get those years back. Can't remember being the woman who started this foundation, but I can choose to honor her, to continue her work. This year, we saved thousands of lives. Not because I remember being Amelia Zara, but because I choose to be worthy of her legacy. The report got media attention. Interview requests, I turned down most. Did a few about the foundation's work. One article interviewed Dr. Masood. He said, Dr. Zara taught us that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the choice to act despite it. She ran into a burning building because people needed help. That's the legacy we carry. I read that quote a dozen times, trying to feel it, trying to remember. I couldn't, but maybe that was okay. In December, 1 year after Victor's dinner party, Lila invited me to her apartment. Nothing fancy, I'm cooking, marking the anniversary, showing you how far we've come. Her apartment was small but charming, books everywhere, plants growing in mismatched pots, a place where someone actually lived. Dinner was homemade pasta, better than she'd predicted. I've been taking cooking classes, she admitted, learning to do things for myself. We ate in comfortable silence. Then she asked, do you forgive me? Really forgive me? I thought about it, really thought. Some days I do. Some days I'm still angry. Some days I see you and remember you signed that paper and I want to scream. But most days I see someone who made a mistake and is learning from it. That's enough for now. What about you? Do you forgive yourself? For what? For being Evelyn all those years? For not knowing you were supposed to be someone else? The question gutted me. No, I look at what Amelia accomplished in 30 years and what Evelyn did in 40 and I feel cheated. Like I lost something I can never get back. But it wasn't your fault. I know, but I still feel like I should have known somehow. Lila took my hand. You survived. You raised me. You did the best you could. That's not wasted time. That's 40 years of small victories that mattered. I matter, don't I? Of course you do. Then Evelyn's life wasn't wasted. She built something. She made a difference, just differently than Amelia did. You don't have to choose between them. You can honor both. I had never thought about it like that raising Lila was its own legacy. Thank you for that perspective. Thank me by forgiving yourself. On Christmas Eve, the foundation hosted a gathering. Surgeons, staff, donors, people celebrating work that saved lives. Dr. Masood approached. The Yemen deployment has been extraordinary. Over 200 surgeries. You're funding dangerous, unglamorous work in war zones. That takes courage. Or guilt about 40 years of doing nothing. You raised a daughter. You survived poverty and amnesia. That's not nothing. Dr. Sarah Kim presented a proposal, a program training civilians in trauma response. $3 million to pilot in 5 cities. I'll fund it, I said, on one condition. Name it the Evelyn Carter First Response Training Initiative. Everyone remembers Amelia. Nobody remembers Evelyn. This way, both parts of my life matter. Karim pulled me aside later. Why name it after Evelyn? Because she spent 40 years being forgotten. Let's make sure people remember her now. I slipped out early, sat in my condo looking at city lights. My phone buzzed. Lila, Merry Christmas, Mom. I love you. Both versions of you. I smiled, typed back, I love you too. I poured wine and sat on the balcony thinking about the year. 12 months ago, I'd been destroyed at a dinner party. Now I was here, whole, making a difference. Not because I remembered being Amelia Zara, but because I'd chosen to be worthy of her. I'd learned something this year, something important. You don't get to choose what's taken from you. Bombs fall, memories vanish, people betray you, 40 years disappear like they never happened. But you do get to choose what you do with what's left. Evelyn had survived, lived small because that's all she knew how to do, raised a daughter, made a life from nothing. Amelia had thrived, run toward danger, saved lives, built something that outlasted her, and I, whoever I was now, would honor both, survive and thrive, be soft and strong, forgive without forgetting, build a future that acknowledged the past without being imprisoned by it. The foundation would continue. The scholarships would help students from war zones. The mobile surgical units would save thousands. Lila would finish her degree, find herself, maybe one day forgive herself the way I was learning to forgive both myself and her. Victor would live with his choices, small and bitter and alone, and I would wake up tomorrow and choose again, choose purpose, choose meaning, choose to matter. That's what Amelia had taught me, even from beyond memory, that some people are meant to burn bright, that your value isn't in how long you live, but in how fully, that running towards danger when others run away is what makes you human. I'd lost 40 years, but I had time left. Not as much as I'd hoped, maybe, but enough to make a difference, enough to leave a legacy worth remembering. 2 legacies, actually. Amia Zara, who ran into burning buildings, and Evelyn Carter, who survived when everything was taken from her. Both of them lived in me now. Both of them mattered. I raised my glass to the night sky one last time, to second chances, to stolen years and reclaimed purpose, to daughters learning to trust and mothers learning to forgive, to being someone worth remembering, even if you couldn't remember being her yourself. The city lights promise tomorrow, new challenges, new decisions, new chances to choose who I wanted to be. I'd spent 61 years being lost, 40 as Evelyn, 21 as Amelia, 1 as this new person I was becoming. But I wasn't lost anymore. I was exactly where I needed to be, finally, truly, completely myself. And that was enough. That was everything. In December, 1 year after Victor's dinner party, Lila invited me to her apartment. Nothing fancy. I'm cooking, marking the anniversary, showing you how far we've come. Her apartment was small but charming. Books everywhere, plants growing in mismatched pots, a place where someone actually lived. Dinner was homemade pasta, better than she'd predicted. I've been taking cooking classes, she admitted, learning to do things for myself. We ate in comfortable silence. Then she asked, "Do you forgive me? Really forgive me?" I thought about it, really thought. Some days I do. Some days I'm still angry. Some days I see you and remember you signed that paper and I want to scream. But most days I see someone who made a mistake and is learning from it. That's enough, for now. What about you? Do you forgive yourself? For what? For being Evelyn all those years, for not knowing you were supposed to be someone else? The question gutted me. No, I look at what Amelia accomplished in 30 years and what Evelyn did in 40 and I feel cheated, like I lost something I can never get back. But it wasn't your fault, I know, but I still feel like I should have known somehow. Lila took my hand. You survived, you raised me, you did the best you could. That's not wasted time, that's 40 years of small victories that mattered. I matter, don't I? Of course you do. Then Evelyn's life wasn't wasted. She built something. She made a difference, just differently than Amelia did. You don't have to choose between them. You can honor both. I'd never thought about it like that raising Lila was its own legacy. Thank you for that perspective. Thank me by forgiving yourself, by accepting that both lives had value. We talked late into the night about her graduate program, about the painting she was restoring, about finding herself outside of Victor's shadow. I'm happy, she said finally, for the first time in years, actually happy, not performing, not pretending, really happy. Good, you deserve it. So do you. Are you? Was I? I thought about everything, the losses, the gains, the strange journey from nobody to somebody. I'm getting there. Some days I'm angry about the 40 years I lost. Some days I'm overwhelmed. But other days I wake up knowing I'm making a difference. Those days I'm happy, really, truly happy. That's more than most people get. She was right. On Christmas Eve, the foundation hosted a gathering, not a gala, something intimate. Surgeons who trained in the program, staff members, donors, people who'd been part of Amelia's work for decades. I stood watching them interact, sharing stories, connecting over shared purpose. Jennifer found me. You should mingle. These people came to see you. They came to celebrate the work. You're the reason any of this exists. Amelia started it, but you're continuing it, expanding it, making it bigger than she ever dreamed. Dr. Masood approached. He'd flown in from Yemen. Dr. Zara, the deployment has been extraordinary. Over 200 surgeries. We're saving lives every day. That's what the money is for. You don't understand how rare this is. Most wealthy people donate to safe causes, museums, universities, places where they can put their names on buildings. You're funding work in war zones. Dangerous, difficult, unglamorous work that takes real courage. Or guilt about 40 years of doing nothing. You raised a daughter, survived poverty and isolation and amnesia. That's not nothing. Everyone kept saying that, kept trying to convince me Evelyn's life had value. Part of me wanted to believe it. Kareem appeared. Stop hiding. Come meet someone. He introduced me to Dr. Sarah Kim. Professional, confident. She ran a program training civilian first responders in trauma care. We talked for 30 minutes. She wanted to expand, train teachers, police officers, regular people in basic trauma response. She had data showing it could save thousands of lives annually. She needed $3 million to pilot in 5 cities. I'll fund it, I said, all of it, on one condition. What's that? Name it after someone else, not me. Who? I thought about Evelyn, about 40 years of small survivals, about staying kind despite everything. Evelyn Carter. Name it the Evelyn Carter First Response Training Initiative. She spent 40 years being forgotten. Let's make sure people remember her now. Dr. Kim smiled. I'd be honored. Kareem pulled me aside later. Why name it after Evelyn instead of Amelia? Because everyone remembers Amelia. She's the hero, the legend. But nobody remembers Evelyn. Nobody knows she existed. This way, both parts of my life matter. Both legacies continue. You're a good person. Both of you were. The party continued late, people sharing stories, making toasts, celebrating lives saved. I slipped out early, sat in my condo looking at city lights. My phone buzzed. Lila, Merry Christmas, Mom. I love you. Both versions of you. I smiled. Typed back, I love you too. I poured wine and sat on the balcony. A year ago, I'd been destroyed at a dinner party, accused of theft, humiliated. My daughter had turned against me. Now I was here, whole, healed, making a difference. Victor had tried to steal everything. Instead, he'd given me something unexpected. He'd forced me to discover who I really was. If he'd never found the connection, I'd still be in that studio apartment, still clipping coupons, still thinking I was nobody. I'd have died never knowing I'd been someone important. The irony was brutal. His greed had set me free. He was gone now, divorced, bankrupt, disgraced, living somewhere far away with whatever scraps he'd salvaged. I didn't feel sorry for him, didn't forgive him, but I didn't hate him either. He was just a small man who'd made small choices and paid appropriate prices. He didn't deserve any more of my energy. The Foundation's annual report had come out in September. I'd written a message that felt like confession and declaration both. A year ago, I was nobody, or so I thought. I lived small, made myself forgettable because I believed I was. Then I discovered I was wrong. I'd been somebody once, someone brave and skilled and determined. An explosion stole that from me, gave me 40 years of a life I hadn't chosen. I can't get those years back, can't remember being the woman who started this foundation. But I can choose to honor her, to continue her work. This year we deployed surgical teams to Yemen, Ukraine and Sudan. We trained 247 trauma surgeons. We provided equipment to 34 field hospitals. We saved thousands of lives. Not because I remember being Amelia Zara, but because I choose to be worthy of her legacy. That's all any of us can do. Choose who we want to be. Choose what we want our lives to mean. I'm choosing to be someone who matters, someone who makes a difference. Thank you for helping me continue that work. The report got attention, media coverage, interview requests. I turned down most. Did a few carefully selected ones where I could talk about the foundation without sensationalizing my story. One article interviewed Dr. Masood and other surgeons. At the end, there was a quote from him that I'd read dozens of times. Dr. Zara taught us that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the choice to act despite it. She ran into a burning building because people needed help. She didn't calculate risk or consider her own safety. She just went. That's the spirit we try to embody. That's the legacy we carry. I couldn't remember being that person, couldn't access that courage, but maybe that was okay. Maybe I didn't need to remember being brave to choose to be brave now. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Dr. Zara, a young woman's voice, nervous. My name is Maria Santos. I'm a medical student. I just got accepted to your foundation scholarship program, the one you announced at the gala. I'm from Guatemala. I want to be a trauma surgeon, want to go back home and help people who can't afford care. The scholarship, it's changing my life. I just wanted to say thank you. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. You don't know what this means. My family is poor. I worked 3 jobs to get through undergrad. I never thought I'd afford medical school. Then your foundation, $50 million for students like me. I cried when I got the acceptance letter. Cried for an hour. Use it well. Study hard. Save lives. I will. I promise. I'm going to make you proud. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about ripples, about how one decision, committing $50 million in a moment of certainty, would change hundreds of lives, students like Maria who'd become surgeons, who'd save thousands. Amelia had started this, but I was expanding it, taking her vision and making it bigger. That felt right, like I was finally doing what I was supposed to do. New Year's Eve came. Lila invited me to a small gathering at her apartment. Just a few friends from grad school, young people, full of ideas and passion and hope. I almost said no. Felt too old for their energy, but something made me go. They treated me like I was interesting instead of ancient, asked about the foundation, about my work, about what it was like to discover you'd been living the wrong life. How do you handle it, one asked, knowing you lost 40 years? Some days I don't. Some days I'm angry and bitter and I mourn what I'll never get back. But other days I focus on what I have now. The chance to make a difference, to use resources I didn't know I had to save lives I'll never meet. That's enough. It has to be. Do you wish you could remember being Amelia? I thought about that. Sometimes. I wish I could access her experiences, her knowledge, her confidence. But maybe it's better this way. Maybe starting fresh lets me be someone new. Not Amelia, not Evelyn, just me. Who are you? Still figuring that out. At midnight, we counted down together. Champagne toasts, hugs. Lila held me tight. New year, New beginning, she whispered, for both of us. For both of us. I left around 1 a.m. Patricia drove me home through empty streets. San Francisco looked different at night. Quieter. More honest. I climbed into bed in my expensive condo wearing expensive pajamas and thought about the journey. From a studio apartment with water stains to this. From nobody to somebody. From lost to found. My phone buzzed one last time. Kareem, Happy New Year, proud of you. Both of you, Evelyn and Amelia. They'd both be proud of who you're becoming. I smiled, typed back. Thank you for never giving up, for searching for 40 years, for believing I was worth finding. You were always worth finding. Sleep well, I did. For the first time in longer than I could remember, I slept without nightmares, without anxiety, without the weight of wondering who I was supposed to be. I was exactly who I needed to be. The weeks after New Year brought new challenges. The Ukraine deployment faced setbacks, supply chain issues, security concerns, political complications. Elena Petrov called weekly with updates and problems. We need more funding, she said during one call. The situation's deteriorating faster than we anticipated. We need mobile units, not just supplies. We need personnel willing to work in active combat zones. How much? Another 5 million, maybe 6. You'll have it by end of week. Dr. Zara, I can't ask you to. You didn't ask. I'm offering. People are dying. We have resources. It's simple math. It wasn't simple. Nothing about this was simple, but it was right. The foundation board meeting in February brought difficult conversations. Some board members worried I was expanding too fast, spending too much, taking on too much risk. We have a responsibility to preserve the endowment, one said, not spend it all in a few years on high-risk operations. The endowment exists to save lives, I countered, not to sit in accounts growing interest while people die. Amelia didn't build this fortune to be conservative. She built it to make a difference. With all respect, you don't remember what Amelia built it for. The words stung, but they were true. You're right. I don't remember her intentions, but I know what mine are. I'm not going to hoard money while people suffer because it's safer. If that means spending down the principal faster than you're comfortable with, then maybe you need to find a different foundation to serve on. The room went silent. Jennifer spoke up. Dr. Zara is right. We exist to save lives, not to preserve wealth. If we're not taking risks, we're not honoring Amelia's vision. The vote was close, but we approved the Ukraine funding, approved expanding the scholarship program, approved everything I'd proposed. Walking out, Jennifer caught my arm. That took courage, standing up to the board like that. Or stupidity, I'm still figuring out which. It was courage. Amelia would have done the same thing. How do you know? You knew her for what? A few months before she disappeared. I knew her long enough to see who she was. She didn't care about being liked. She cared about being effective. You're the same way, whether you remember it or not. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about the board members' words. You don't remember what Amelia built it for. I got up, made tea, sat at my desk and pulled out files Kareem had given me. Amelia's original foundation charter, her mission statement, her vision. The Amelia Zara Foundation exists to provide trauma medical care in the world's most dangerous places. We go where others won't. We serve those others won't serve. We save lives that others have decided aren't worth saving. Our mission is simple. Reduce preventable death in conflict zones through training, equipment, and direct intervention. We will not be safe. We will not be comfortable, but we will be effective. I read it 3 times, felt tears on my face. She'd known exactly what she wanted, known it would be dangerous and uncomfortable and hard, and she'd done it anyway. I was honoring her vision, even without remembering her, even without accessing her memories or experiences. I was being exactly who she'd been, someone who chose effectiveness over safety, impact over comfort. That realization settled something inside me. I wasn't pretending to be Amelia. I wasn't performing her legacy. I was living it, authentically, in my own way. March brought unexpected news. Victor had been arrested. Fraud charges related to his business dealings. Apparently, trying to steal my fortune wasn't his first scam, just his most ambitious. Lila called me crying. I saw it on the news. They're saying he defrauded investors, that the company was a shell, that everything was a lie. Are you okay? I don't know. I should be happy. He's getting what he deserves. But I just feel sad. I wasted 4 years on someone who was never real. You didn't waste them. You learned from them. That's different. Did I? Or did I just get lucky that you had money he wanted? If you'd really been Evelyn Carter, nobody special, he would have succeeded. I would have helped him destroy you and never known the truth. But that's not what happened. You saw the truth when it mattered. You chose right. Give yourself credit for that. She was quiet for a long moment. Do you think I'll ever stop feeling guilty? I don't know, but I think guilt is only useful if it changes behavior. You've changed. You're becoming someone better. That's what matters. I hope so. I really hope so. Victor's trial would take months. I didn't plan to attend. Didn't need to see him punished to feel closure. He was already punished by his own choices, his own greed, his own inability to be anything other than a predator. That was enough. In April, I got a call from Dr. Masood. We have a situation. A young surgeon on our Yemen team was injured in a bombing. She's stable, but she can't continue working. We need a replacement immediately. Find someone. I'll cover the costs. It's more complicated than that. The replacement needs specific skills. Needs to be someone who can handle the pressure. Someone who won't break under impossible conditions. Do you have someone in mind? Yes, but she's young. Just finished residency. This would be throwing her into the deep end. Is she good? Brilliant, top of her class, but inexperienced in conflict zones. Amelia was inexperienced once. So were you. So is everyone before their first deployment. If she's willing and you think she can handle it, send her. You're sure? I'm sure. We don't get better by playing it safe. 2 weeks later, I got an email from the young surgeon, Dr. Rebecca Chen. She thanked me for the opportunity, said she was scared but determined, said she wanted to make a difference. I wrote back, fear is normal. Courage is choosing to go anyway. Trust your training. Trust your team. Save lives. That's all that matters. Her response came hours later. I won't let you down. I believed her. May brought the 1-year anniversary of reclaiming my identity. Kareem invited me to dinner at a restaurant overlooking the bay. 1 year, he said, raising his glass. From Evelyn Carter to Amelia Zara to whoever you are now. How does it feel? Strange. Like I've lived 3 lifetimes in 12 months. You have, in a way. The question is, are you happy with who you've become? I thought about it, really thought. I'm not sure happy is the right word, but I'm satisfied. I'm making a difference. I'm using resources to save lives. I'm building relationships that matter. That's more than happiness. That's purpose. Amelia would be proud. Would she? I'm not her. I can't remember being her. I'm just someone trying to honor work she started. You're doing more than honoring it. You're expanding it, making it bigger and better than she could have imagined. That's not imitation, that's evolution. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just spending money and hoping it makes up for 40 years of doing nothing. You didn't do nothing. You survived. You raised a daughter. You lived a life that mattered, even if it wasn't the life you were supposed to have. Everyone keeps saying that. I wish I believed it. Someday you will. Until then, trust those of us who see clearly. We ate in comfortable silence. Then Kareem said, I have something for you. He pulled out a small box. Inside was a necklace. Simple, elegant, a pendant with 2 intertwined circles. What is this? A symbol? 2 lives, 2 identities, both part of you, both valuable. You don't have to choose between Evelyn and Amelia. You can be both. I put it on, felt the weight of it against my chest. Thank you for everything, for never giving up, for believing I was worth finding. You were Always worth finding. Both of you were. The conversation turned to lighter topics. Karim's grandchildren, Nadia's garden, plans for their anniversary trip to Lebanon. We're going back, he said, to the place where it all started, where you saved Tarek, where everything changed. Are you going to the hospital, the building? If it's still standing, I want to see it, want Tarek to see where he almost died, where you gave him a second chance at life. Will you take pictures? I know I can't remember it, but I'd like to see it anyway. Of course. We parted with long hugs. Promises to stay close. Gratitude for the strange journey that had brought us together. Driving home, I thought about symbols. 2 circles intertwined. 2 lives merged into one. That's what I was. Not Evelyn or Amelia. Both. And neither. Something new built from pieces of each. I could live with that. June brought heat and clarity. I sat on my balcony watching the city shimmer in summer sun and made a list of truths I'd learned. Money doesn't heal trauma, but it can fund healing for others. Forgiveness is a process, not a moment. Some days you forgive, some days you don't. Both are valid. Legacy isn't about being remembered. It's about leaving the world better than you found it. Family isn't just blood, it's people who choose to stay, who fight for you, who see you clearly and love you anyway. You can't get back stolen time, but you can make the time you have count. I read the list 3 times, added one more truth. You are not defined by what's taken from you, you're defined by what you do with what remains. That felt right, true. I folded the paper, put it in my journal. Someday, maybe, someone would read it and understand. The foundation summer gala was smaller this year, more intimate. Just people who'd been part of the work, who understood what we were building. I gave a short speech, thanked them for their dedication, announced new initiatives, a training hospital in Jordan, expanded scholarship programs, mobile surgical units for 3 new countries. We're not slowing down, I said. We're speeding up because people are dying and we have resources to save them. It's that simple. The applause was genuine. These people understood. They knew what mattered. After, Lila found me. She looked different, happier, more settled. I have news, she said. I got an offer. A position at the De Young Museum, junior conservator. It's not much money, but it's exactly what I want to do. That's wonderful. I start in August. I'll be restoring paintings, bringing damaged art back to life. It feels right, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You are. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you too. Look at you, running a foundation, funding medical missions, saving lives. You're amazing. I'm just trying to be worthy of a legacy I can't remember building. You're doing more than that. You're creating your own legacy. Stop comparing yourself to Amelia. You're enough on your own. Those words hit deep, settled into places I didn't know needed settling. Thank you. I needed to hear that. I know, that's why I said it. We hugged, long and tight, mother and daughter, broken and healing, finding our way back to each other, one conversation at a time. Later, standing on my balcony with wine and city lights, I thought about enough. Was I enough? Without Amelia's memories, without her experiences and skills and confidence? Maybe I was. I'd saved lives through funding, trained surgeons through scholarships, made differences I'd never see but knew were real. That was enough. I was enough. The realization felt like coming home. I raised my glass to the night sky one final time, to Evelyn, who survived when everything was taken, to Amelia, who ran toward danger to save strangers, to me, whoever I was becoming. All 3 of us mattered. All 3 of us were enough. I drank deep and smiled. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new choices, new chances to make a difference. But tonight I was simply grateful for second chances, for found families, for purpose and meaning, and the knowledge that my life, all versions of it, had value. That was everything, and I was ready for whatever came next. Finally, completely, wholly myself. Enough.